Henry Deaver.
Okay.
That's not Henry Deaver. Who the fuck's Henry Deaver? It's a long story.
What's up, everybody? We're back. Ryan and Greg here to break down Hulu's Castle Rock based on the writings of Stephen King.
And I will try my hardest not to bring up any David Lynch and no Twin Peaks. Not happening. We can't do both. We can't do Stephen King and David Lynch. We can't do the references that way. Nope, not doing it.
Red Room. Red Room.
I quit.
Red Room. But first, make sure to subscribe to Universe, where we got you covered for comic deep dives, TV breakdowns, and movie reviews.
All right, before we get started, we just want to let you guys know that we saw the first 3 episodes, and this review is only going to be 1 and 2. We're going to leave out a few certain things from actually the first 2 episodes, and we're going to leave that one for the 3rd one without going into any spoilers, and we're not going to do the whole thing of, gee, I wonder what this character is going to do in the next episode. We're going to cut that out entirely, and we're going to leave it for the next one. So we'll see you back for the 3rd one for a few things. If you might have noticed that we didn't talk about a few certain characters, it's because we're saving it for a 3rd one.
Spoiler alert.
Whatever.
Okay, so before we dive into the story of both episodes 1 and 2 and talk about some of the characters before we really get deeper into the series, Greg, what are your general feelings about the show so far?
Well, so far, I'm enjoying it. It's a slow burn. Like, I can't help saying that enough. It's a very slow burn, but it's a mystery. It's just a mystery thriller right now, and I'm loving it. From the outside looking in, I thought this was just gonna be a giant, just trove of Easter eggs on Easter eggs on Easter eggs, just to sell and peddle Stephen King novels.
Just like one character walking in, another character walking out of just a constant carousel of
Pennywise is walking a dog. Pennywise is walking Cujo, actually. Right. Come on, we gotta get back to hell. And I thought that's where we're gonna go, and I'm so happy they're not doing that, though. It's filled with references. And they range from beginner level to extreme, ultra advanced.
Oh, yeah.
But I'm enjoying it. The characters are great. The setting is perfect setting to use Castle Rock this way. I'm in, so far.
I'm actually really enjoying this too. Like, the first few episodes aren't really working to blow your mind. No, but there is a sinister, kind of creepy percolation going on that kind of keeps you paying attention. And I think that is actually very true to the Stephen King novel experience. He has these very long books. They take a little time to get there, but the journey is always kind of worth it. It's more about the characters, and this show is actually doing that pretty well. In today's current TV climate, everything is about extreme, hitting you hard with everything. I mean, I love a lot of the shows,
Even
but
Lost. Right there at the crash.
Legion,
we gotta have the crash.
Is over the top. Like Handmaid's Tale's over the top. Like, you can pick almost any show, and it's like it's a cacophony of trying to be the most energetic, the funniest, the most violent, all that stuff. And this show is freaking mellow by comparison. And if you...
It's like you just took an Ambien and compared to...
Yeah, and sometimes it's good to have a show that does that. And I think it's great that this one does it.
Okay, so Castle Rock is the fictional town in Maine that appears as the setting for 6 King novels, 3 novellas, and 4 short stories. It's also referenced in several other King books. Let's get started with Henry Deaver, our semi-lead, I think. We can call him the lead.
I think you can maybe round him up to being the main character.
He may be around in episode 10, maybe not. I wouldn't doubt it if he dies anywhere in between. With that said...
We don't know.
We don't know. It's okay.
Okay, so he's a death row defense attorney.
Yes.
He was, I guess, born and raised in Castle Rock, but he hasn't been there in a long time. And his sort of, he's kind of a pariah in the town for what a lot of people think is being responsible for the death of his father, who was a beloved pastor in the town when he was a kid.
Yes, he was gone missing for 11 days, apparently.
And we learned this basically right at the beginning of the show.
They throw it out to you right at the front.
You know how cold that is?
freeze to death in an hour. And you've been gone 11 days. So what happened out there?
Next up, we have Dale Lacey, the warden for Shawshank, aka John Locke. He dies, he kills himself under mysterious circumstances, which leads to the discovery of a kid who has been locked up underneath Shawshank's prison for who knows how long yet. We don't know.
Now, that kid in the basement, we don't know much about him other than he's played by Bill Skarsgård, aka
Pennywise, and on my notes right now, until they give him a name, it just says Bill S. or not Pennywise.
Not Pennywise.
Yes, so we'll go for that.
Actor who plays Pennywise in the currently ongoing It movie series.
And we'll try not to spoil It Chapter 2 for you, so we'll keep that stuff out.
You're telling me that my predecessor left an entire wing of this prison unoccupied for 30 years? Why?
Basically, all we know is that he was locked up for a long time. He's got what seem to be some weird psychic powers, but not really clear where that's going. And there's definitely a lot of hints, or not a lot of hints, it's pretty explicit. He's freaking evil. So far, he's our monster.
Yeah, oh, no, I wouldn't call him the monster just yet. I don't think he's the monster. He hasn't really done, he's very innocent on the outside, unless it's just this thing, he's cursed. It could be a curse.
Innocent, he says.
He hasn't done anything yet. We don't know. Yes, he's killed one of the inmates somehow, but that inmate was trying to kill him. Side note, we do know that Warden Lacey apparently made that prison in 1991 because the little TV showing George H.W. Bush announcing military action on the Persian Gulf, which was on January 16th, 1991. I looked that up.
That's pretty good. Now, what I want to know is it because of how much evil is down there that television was getting such good reception in the basement? There are a few characters, of course, at Shawshank Prison. Dennis Zaleski is the guard who notifies Deaver about the existence of the kid in the first place. He's got a bit of a conscience. There's also the warden and her assistant, who are either a little bit evil or mostly incompetent. It's not totally clear just yet. Something I do want to note, though, I thought was a kind of a good touch, is that Zaleski does not want to help Deaver because he is worried about losing his job, and he has a line about how there is not, if there was a Walmart within 60 miles, he would be working there. And I think that there's a lot of like little elements of this show that are kind of going into this like post-industrial New England town that is just decaying. Partially from evil, but partially from obsolescence.
He told me he had finally figured out what was wrong with Castle Rock. He said he had always thought the devil was just a metaphor, but now he knew the devil was a boy.
Next up, we have Scott Glenn playing Scott Glenn as Alan Pangborn.
Right, and this is the only canon Stephen King character so far on the show, but there is one.
Now, Alan Pangborn is the retired sheriff of Castle Rock, Maine, who was previously played by Ed Harris in Needful Things and Michael Rooker in The Dark Half. And at the moment, he's the only character on the chessboard that knows what's going on at Shawshank.
Right, so we have all that expository voiceover throughout the second episode of the show, and then it turns out at the end of the episode that it's actually been Pangborn reading Warden Lacey's suicide note, and it names him as basically the last standing defender of Castle Rock. And then also going back to the first scene that takes place in 1991 of episode 1, Pangborn is the one who finds Henry Deaver on the ice and rescues him. Pangborn is also involved with Henry's mom, Ruth Deaver. Now, Ruth Deaver is played by Sissy Spacek, famously the star of Carrie. Now, we're about, I would say 95% positive that there isn't any actual connection to Carrie with her in this role, but I'm not gonna make any promises.
We'll see. I can't imagine. Same thing with Pennywise. I can't imagine Pennywise is going to show up while they have this movie going on. It would be jarring to recast him because it's not Bill Skarsgård's character.
Right. Now, then basically the last other character that we want to talk about in this video is to me, the character that set off the biggest red flag in the show so far to me.
Oh my God, yes.
Which is Jackie Torrance.
Jackie Torrance.
All God's children.
It could just be a cheeky reference to Jack Torrance in The Shining.
I think it is. I think that's where they're going with
That's
that.
what it is. Man, that left a bad taste in my mouth. If it's just gonna be like, we're gonna have like Stephen King-esque references. Now, Jackie could be a legit Torrance. It's not, we're not.
I can't imagine she's going to say, I have The Shining.
We're not getting the impression that she has The Shining, but you know, she is in the prayer group. She is a drinker. We see her at the Mellow Tiger. It's very possible that she shares the alcoholism of the family and is a little touched in the head. But I'm not getting that vibe.
I don't think they're going to go that way. I think it's just the name. I think it's just going to be like a Stephen King name drop. That's it. I know. We'll see.
Quickly, let's just bring up Molly Strand. I think she's a favorite character of both of us right now. But we're going to talk about her a little bit more when we break down episode 3. Just a few things to note from episodes 1 and 2 is that she had sort of a childhood maybe crush on Henry Deaver. We saw her breathing vapor in her bedroom somehow. She's mortgaged her childhood home to buy some property in town. Her sister thinks she's a drug addict, but we're gonna get back to her when we go over episode 3.
This town is not Great Barrington, okay? It's Fallujah.
And now it's time to jump into what you all been waiting for, references and Easter eggs, whatever you want to call this part. We got to do it.
Yeah, I don't think we could break down Castle Rock, a show that is basically a trove of references to Stephen King, without getting a few out of the way. But we definitely probably didn't catch all of them. So if there's anything you noticed, let us know down in the comments or hit us up on Twitter. First off, key chunks of this first season take place in and around the prison from Rita Hayworth and Shawshank Redemption, which was made into the movie The Shawshank Redemption. There are references to characters and plot points from King's tales like The Shining, Cujo, The Body, aka Stand By Me. In the second episode, Henry looks through a bunch of old newspaper clippings in the warden's home office. There's a clipping that says, "Rabid dog tears through town, rabies vaccines at all-time high." That's definitely a nod to Cujo. There is a shopkeeper missing after oddity store fire, which is surely Needful Things, and if you kind of freeze frame and squint, you can see references to Leland Gaunt in the text. Another one says, "Anonymous tip led to boy's body," which also has an image of what looks like railroad tracks, so that's definitely The Body or Stand By Me. And then lastly, or actually firstly, there's a headline that says, "Students injured at work," and I am not at all sure what that one is, so definitely let us know that in the comments if you've got that one. There's a high school kid that Molly Strand is buying drugs from, and that's Dean Merrill. So in Stephen King's books, there are 2 different Merrill lines. Now, this kid's a kind of scummy drug dealer, which makes me think he might be related to John Ace Merrill, who is probably most well known for being the bully / bad guy in The Body or Stand By Me. In Stand By Me, he was Kiefer Sutherland. And then he's also sort of a secondary antagonist in Needful Things.
Now they go to the Mellow Tiger bar that's in Needful Things and The Dark Half. Okay, and then they bring up that Nan's Luncheonette was closed down. So. Right,
yeah, the context for the conversation in the show is that Deaver's trying to figure out whether the Shawshank guards would be visiting the Mellow Tiger. And the answer was because Nan's closed down a long time ago, they would be going there for sure. Nan's Luncheonette actually appears in multiple stories, which again does lend itself to the idea that this story is trying to be canon. Like, it's present day 2018, and they're talking about things that are in old books.
They're walking that line right now. And then we got a botched execution in the first episode with Henry Deaver's client that made me think a lot of Green Mile and the botched execution there. I don't know if those things are gonna have anything in common, but that's just a quick thing to note. And it doesn't look like it was any kind of resurrection because it didn't take place in Castle Rock, so I want to put it closer to just incompetence.
I think we'll probably see a few things here and there that are this kind of like echo of something in a Stephen King story, even though it's not like from like story canon necessarily. They're just like pulling.
There's just so much work, so much stuff to come from. It could be something completely separate too, for all we know.
Right. I think the last one we want to bring up is that in episode 2, Deaver finds Alan Pangborn in the backyard digging up a hole, and the story behind it is that Henry's mom is, you know, kind of, she's not all there anymore, and she thinks that the neighborhood dog is still around and she's been trying to feed it.
Someone's been going through the trash.
But they hit that dog a while in the past, and he's digging it up to prove to her that it's still dead. But we got a dog in a suitcase, and that is very, very, very Pet Cemetery.
Okay, let's talk about some questions we have. I have a few here. My major one is, I wonder, do the writers have carte blanche on King's work here? We don't know.
Right.
I want to know, how far can they take this? Can they go with any character they want? Obviously not Pennywise. I'm pretty sure they would get that shot down, but who knows?
I mean, I think part of the idea that if they're being as true to canon as possible, it's taking place in 2018. All that other stuff is in the past, so there aren't going to be a lot of characters either living, whether they're good guys, bad guys, monsters, or whatever. They just don't exist anymore because they got wiped out in the book that they came from. What I'm kind of wondering is whether this series is going to be focused on the Deaver and the kid story. Like, it's really very much about them here at the beginning, and that worries me a little bit, just because I think that, you know, the sort of Castle Rock background and history has quite a lot of characters, quite a lot going on. Even, I mean, in Needful Things alone, there are a ton of characters. And I'm hoping that we're not just sort of glued to a couple of characters that are just constantly the main focus.
I think we are. I think that's where we're going. And they've said already that each season is going to be a different story from a different perspective. And for all we know, this story could be told straight up from Henry Deaver's POV for the most part.
Okay, yeah, that's fair.
I'm all for it. Hey, if you guys kill him off halfway through, that's fine with me. I would love it. If they give him a Ned Stark, let's do it. At the same time, with that said, speaking of killing people off, next question I have, is there going to be a killer thing? This is Stephen King. Now, they set the tone already with the first episode. There's a supernatural element to it, but there is no killer thing yet. There's no killer dog, there's no killer can, there's no killer car, there's nothing like that yet. I'm just curious, are they gonna add something like that? I don't know even if I want that, honestly.
It's very much just like thriller right now.
Yes.
Which is still very Stephen King, but...
I'm worried. I'm like, is there going to be a ghost? Is there some, I'm telling you, I feel like there's some killer thing that's going to happen. Or maybe they can save that for a different season. Hopefully.
That would be interesting. And then on top of that, like when they start like to pop off, is it going to get silly? Like, is it going to be like, you know, the Stephen King cinematic universe? Like, we're going to have freaking like, you know, Pennywise walking Cujo and they get in Christine and like run some people over? Or is it gonna be like there's gonna be one unique monster to the season?
At this point, I feel like if they're gonna do the killer thing, the unique monster, that would be a separate season. I feel like this one's just setting the tone for a supernatural mystery thriller.
I can totally roll with that.
Okay. Okay guys, that's it for us over here for the first 2 episodes. We will see you very soon for part 3. And until then, keep it tuned to GameSpot Universe. Bye guys.